In 2024, we introduced AI guidelines for students and teachers. They focus on awareness, bias, reliability, responsible use. But today, in 2026, the real question is no longer how do we regulate AI? The real question is what does it mean by ready in a world where knowledge is generated? There are hypotheses about how learning should work in the age of AI. And when we bring those hypotheses into real classrooms with students and teachers, we sometimes discover they are incomplete. One example, we wrote guidelines assuming teachers understood how AI actually works. In fact, many did not. When we bring AI into classroom, two realities appear immediately. First, students use AI massively, sometimes to explore and learn, but very often to take shortcuts. They generate text without understanding them. They delegate thinking instead of developing it. Second, teachers face challenges because they are themselves in learning phase. So we have a tension between what we intend and what actually happens. We must not only train students, we should train the entire education system. No, what is interesting is that our documents, our guidelines, are not just rules. They reveal something deeper. For students, we explain that AI does not provide truth. It produces plausible answers. Knowledge is no longer something you access. It's something it is generated. This is change everything. For teachers, another question arises. What should be delegated to AI and what should not? As you can see, the challenge is not only technological, but it is also educational. If we look at college readiness in this context, we must ask, what does it mean to be ready when AI can generate knowledge in an instant? It means three things. First, cognitive readiness. Students must learn to question, verify, and think critically. Second, operational readiness. They must be able to use AI to explore, create, and learn, not just to produce answers. Third, ethical readiness. They must understand responsibly, transparency, and limits. From our experience, several projects emerge. In our school, we have created space where teachers can experiment and share practices. We call them AI lunch coffee. 1 hour, one topic, one coffee. And for the students, we have developed an application that guides them to learn prompting using and understanding AI. We call it Prompt Studio. Let's come back to the hypothesis I start with. AI is not just a new tool, it's a new learning context. Preparation for college is not longer defined uniquely by what students have to learn, but also by their ability to think critically, to develop AI skills, and to act responsibly. We must keep in mind transition from AI regulation to preparation required training for everyone involved in education.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Okay, now we have Dr. Sonia Gaither. I have a question for you.
Okay.
From your perspective in higher education administration and academic libraries, how are today's college students adjusting to AI-driven learning environments? And how can institutions better support their transition to career readiness in this new digital landscape?
Thank you so much. Today's college students are navigating an academic world where AI is woven into nearly every part of the learning experience. What we're seeing is that students are adjusting, but not evenly. Some may arrive with strong AI fluency, while others may have had little exposure. That unevenness is becoming a new dimension of college readiness. Before continuing, I would like to provide some insight into the institutions where I work. One institution is in a small rural town south of Atlanta, Georgia. It is a state college that provides associate and bachelor's degrees with an enrollment of 3,100 students. While it is a residential campus, a large number of students are commuters, and over half take classes online. The second institution is in metro Atlanta that serves almost 6,000 students, most of which are commuters, but residential housing is also available. Programs offered include associates, bachelor's, and master's, and both offer classes face to face and online. From a higher education administration perspective, this means institutions must be intentional about supporting students as they learn to use AI responsibly and effectively. We need clear policies, transparent expectations, and curriculum that teaches students how to collaborate with AI and not rely on it blindly or wholeheartedly and not fear it. Students need to understand when AI is appropriate, how to evaluate AI generated information, and how to maintain academic integrity in an AI rich environment. For example, our university system consists of 25 public institutions, and each was asked in the last year to develop an institution wide policy appropriate for their students and faculty and staff based on guidance that was provided by the board. These policies include guidelines of when and how students can use AI in the classroom, including a red, yellow, green light model that explains what is acceptable in an instructor's classroom. The policy also includes information on the recommended AI tools that may be used and tells students and faculty and staff that training resources and workshops will be available to help them learn more about and teach them how to use AI more effectively. From the academic library perspective, we're seeing a shift in the types of literacy students need. Libraries have always been centers of information access, but now we're also centers of algorithmic literacy. Some students want to know, can I trust this output? How do I verify it? Why did the tool give me this answer? Libraries are uniquely positioned to teach students how to navigate these questions because we've always had them make sense of complex information ecosystems. Similarly to the instructional faculty, as librarians at my institutions, we are beginning to learn more about AI and how to include it in our information literacy sessions, although there are a lot of other libraries in our systems that are way ahead of the game. We have not determined how to incorporate AI into our daily processes, but a few of us have used it for conducting research as we learn how to build appropriate prompts that will assist us when working with students. We also have to learn about the different AI tools available, especially those automatically built into the vendor databases. As a dean of libraries, I am constantly seeking professional development opportunities for my staff and myself to help us learn more so we can continue to be impactful when assisting students with AI as they maneuver through their research journey. But the conversation can't stop at college readiness. We also must think about career readiness. Employers increasingly expect graduates to be able to use AI tools to analyze data, communicate effectively, solve problems, and collaborate across digital platforms. That means institutions must build AI literacy across the curriculum, not just in computer science, but in business, the arts, health sciences, and the humanities. This is a shared responsibility across the entire educational ecosystem. For example, entrepreneurs are building the tools that shape how students learn and work. Administrators are creating the structure that ensure AI is used ethically and equitably. Teachers and faculty are modeling how AI can enhance inquiry, creativity, and problem solving. Librarians are guiding students through increasingly complex information landscapes, and policymakers are ensuring that access to AI enabled learning is not determined by geography or income. As an example, institutions are also revising and creating courses that include AI as part of the curriculum. Instructional faculty are participating in professional development activities such as receiving AI certificates, to utilize what they have learned in the classroom. These such strategies are being passed along to the students to also prepare them in their careers. If we want students to transition successfully from college to career, we must give them opportunities to practice using AI thoughtfully, ethically, and creatively, not just in one class, but across their entire educational journey. Ultimately, preparing students for an AI driven world isn't about teaching them to master a specific tool. Tools will change. It's about cultivating adaptable, critical, and confident leaders who can thrive in environments where AI is part of the conversation, in the classroom and in the workplace.
Thank you. That was lovely. And I hadn't even explored with what that means to our research base that we're accessing, like our credible research bases within the library. So I'm so glad you
where they all snuck in and stole the exam from the dumpster, and they stole the wrong exam,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. Cheating has been around forever, right, in everything. So we have to understand that new technology, new tools, new insights, et cetera, are, there's going to be some who use them for good, some that use them for bad, right? We have to have the conversations about discernment and critical thinking, et cetera, et cetera. So I really just wanted to reflect on your thoughts about having those conversations up front with students, with educators, with everyone involved, to come up with what the common theme is, the common message, the common usage, discernment, et cetera, et cetera. So just wanted to reflect on that.
Yeah, thanks. I think a lot of faculty go to this place of how do I check to see if this is AI driven or AI written or created, and I think that's real tough. I think, you know, if you have a baseline of like discussion boards, for example, I think they're great because if you say, hey, we can use AI in different ways on different assignments, but in discussion boards we're not going to use them. There's no right answer. I want to hear your reaction to it. That frees them a little bit from like, I have to get the right answer. I have to make you happy as a faculty member. And so that you then get a read of their actual writing. And are there students who are going to just plug it into a chatbot and do that anyway? Yes, it's unavoidable. And I don't have a good answer for that, other than building relationships with that student and trying to get at it, right? I would caution away from AI detectors. Turnitin has an AI detector. They're biased. Do not use them. And when I say biased, I mean, yes, they will often flag non-native English speakers as generative AI, and that is not the case. I've had students say I've never even heard of ChatGPT, and they
to the students, even in high school. I'm not talking about entering college. It's a high school thing, middle school even, I would love. And so your thoughts on that perspective.
Well, I've been talking a lot, and I know mindset is
Well,
kind of your
everybody's
happy.
thoughts.
Yeah, everyone's thoughts. I want if anyone wants to jump in on mindset. No, okay.
So, there- share with me how are you engaging mindset with your students currently?
When we meet, because I have a hybrid, so I teach via Zoom, and cameras on, and we're doing. I employ the VARC uh, framework in my teaching, so visual, auditory, reading, kinesthetic.
Nice.
And so making sure that we're doing breakout sessions, making sure that I'm asking questions and I'm requiring that you respond. I'm not talking at you for 3 hours.
Right.
Making sure that when they do these breakout sessions, they come back and we debrief and what did you think? Where did you land? I even actually do AI activities where go to the AI, pick one, or I will tell them which one to go to, and then let's compare what the responses were. So it's that type of thing, if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, it did. So I was just curious if you would maybe you can try it, see how it works for you. But one of the things that I do when I'm training in schools with teachers is to help the teachers get regulated first, and then they're holding the energetic, eye in that storm, right? So that they're holding that presence for everyone. If you get everybody on the same page and have them like, let's just check in real quick, get centered in our nervous system, they're going to have more availability for their cognitive thinking. They're going to have more creative flow. They're going to have more adaptability. It's kind of like, if anybody plays golf, if when on your backswing, you have to pause before you come down, or the professional basketball player, whatever, it's getting into that flow state. So when you have your nervous system regulated, it allows things to come through you that wouldn't otherwise be able to. So I think, especially on Zoom, if you get them to reset with you, it brings everybody back together. It's like it brings everything into a more cohesive state. I don't know why I keep having problems with my mic, so I apologize.
That's okay.
I know, I feel like I want us to restate for you on some of the stuff.
I-
But I love that, and then
Go ahead.
And then I want to say too, you said something very important, which was excellence over perfection.
Yeah.
And I think somebody's excellence is going to look different in that. And so that I think, even elaborating on that I'm not looking for you to fill in these certain things because this is the formula.
Yeah.
We are looking for excellence. We're looking to see what is your best you that you're doing. And so that even supports what you were talking about on that. I think we only have 3 minutes,
Can I just add one quick thing?
Yes.
Just one quick thing to that? Add one line to your assignments, like how does this connect to experiences you've had before? If you can directly access their experiences, their funds of knowledge, and give value to those, it will motivate them.
Or even better yet, a feeling that is
Oh,
tied
yeah.
to it, because our brain stores memories with feelings, and those are the most important and impactful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, in the back.
How much is collaboration with AI part of the conversation? Partnering with it, collaborating with it?
It's the whole conversation, right? Like we're thinking about how we're doing it, how we're thinking about kind of what ways to use AI are acceptable, and that collaboration with AI will look different for every assignment. And I think that's the message that we want to send to faculty and students, say like, hey, it's okay to have different expectations for different assignment types.
Thank you. And what's the name of your website?
It's nl.edu, but there's an AI page on there, specifically.
Awesome.
I am.
And then, I think we're all on LinkedIn too.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yes, sir.
So if we think about back to the internet, when that first came out, everybody was afraid.
Yeah.
They all said, this isn't gonna work, and it's gonna be illegal, and why? Nobody wanted to learn it, but now there's not a business that runs without the internet and having websites. Well, that's the way AI is, right? Over 90% of companies are moving to AI. So what I want to hear about is how can we teach them more about using AI responsibly? Somebody said to verify the information. I love that. But I think the skills that they need today are to learn all these different AIs and keep up with that technology, because there's no turning back the clock. AI has to be one of those skills that all kids need to know how to use. And what I see right now is somebody mentioned or I see the kids that are just kind of frozen. They don't know what to do because they don't know what the different professors are expecting. So we need a clear vision as to what's allowed and what's not. And different universities are doing different things. So I'm just saying that we all have to get on the same page. And I want to ask the panel, what are they doing to help build a cohesiveness across universities and the students to be on the same page?
Yeah, we offered guidelines, and I think, that sounds like what other folks are doing too. We offered guidelines, but then we host kind of an hour-long session where you can come and I'll go to the department meetings, the college meetings, and talk about how it works for them. Here's the guidelines that we want to, kind of adopt AI in this way. How does that work for your college? And so by just having those conversations with them, they kind of, they trickle down to their departments and their courses in different ways, and we have to be okay with that. That's kind of what we've come to.
Right, I would agree with that. And also one of the things that our faculty are doing is that they are going out into the industries and talking to the businesses to find out what are you expecting from your new employers so that they can learn about what those expectations are so they can embed that into the curriculum and teach that to the students so you have that collaboration. And like you said, it's going to be different for every institution, every industry. And so that's part of that partnership and just keeping that conversation going.
And
And
then,
I'll have to say one more time.
no, you go ahead,
I
and then I'll
think
go.
it's
Yeah.
important. If the students are frozen, it's because their nervous system is stuck. And if you get your nervous system regulated and you create a new baseline, that will give them the opportunity to participate in a completely different way. And you get different answers from AI when you're regulated and you're centered, as opposed to being in a state of panic. So I think it's important in that direction too.
And I think it's overwhelming is part of what I'm hearing too. It's
Sensory-wise,
overwhelming and
yes.
doing. And in my case, as somebody who, like I said, is working with parents and students, I've created AI ethics courses to get the message out because so many parents kind of don't even know where to start. Same with the students, they're getting into that. And you're asking like 14, 15-year-olds, where are you going to go to college? What are you doing? And they're like, I don't even know how to do my like English assignments and what's okay and that's not things. So for me, I reach out to the community and I put it out because hopefully all of us as change makers, part of it is that people are searching for the information from us, but also I feel like in my case, it's my duty to reach out and to put that out there. So all this information, even today, I want to get out to as many people as possible so that they even kind of trigger what it is they should be asking, what it is they should want to know, and maybe have them reflective on something that they've never thought about before. That's another thing as well. So it's sometimes them searching for information. Other times it's us reaching out to share what we know because they are overwhelmed and we don't even know what it is. They don't even know where to start.
They don't know what questions to ask.
They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know what's available. They don't even know if it's okay to ask questions. Yes. And okay, good. 5 minutes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
I have a question. So I'm at a university and we've been told which AI bots we may use, which is disconcerting because we're at a higher ed situation and we know the students are already spanning the entirety of AI bots that are out there. So what are your thoughts on, I heard something about cohesive approach by a system to one. That's not what higher ed is about. Higher ed is about going beyond that high school notion of, right?
Right.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
So I would say our system has done the same thing, and it's very difficult, like you said, especially with the library databases, because we can't control when the vendors add AI tools to be searched, and and it's labeled natural language, and so I don't know that we're able to honestly control that. I think we can give like a list of tools. Here's some guidelines, the ones that we recommend that you use. But if you stray from that, I mean, how can we police that? I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
Gemini this past fall gave a free student membership for a year, right? So you can use the Gemini Pro version for free for a year, but you had to put in a credit card. How many students are going to forget and get charged, right? And that's a whole different story. But the idea is like Gemini is being offered for free, and I'm sure that Claude and ChatGPT are going to jump onto this eventually. And so like our university, just to answer your question, like how are we doing it? We're saying, we have an agreement with Gemini so that faculty and staff have this. Copilot is built into Word products, so we have access to a pared down version of that. Those are the two that we say we support or we offer, but you can use any of them. So we don't restrict use, but we offer kind of like, here's the ones that we just happen to have agreements with based on their willingness to work with us. But I think, it's hard to say, hey, go pay for this. But you can only get so much with the free version too. So it's kind of, our people are gonna, they're gonna hit their cap on one and go to the next, and then they're gonna hit their cap on that if they're using only free version. So it's hard to create that cohesion. Yeah.
This question is primarily for Amanda, given your unique background. We know that students are becoming more antisocial, that there are higher rates of anxiety and depression. A lot of that stems from the technology that's already embedded in our society. Have you thought about the impact of AI? I know it's a train that's sort of moving down the track. Don't get me wrong, I think it'll bring amazing things, but I also have grave concerns about how it will be implemented. From a social emotional standpoint, what advice would you give other educators?
the program that's still used today. And as DMV started using more and more facial recognition, they asked me to do the same thing, have safeguards, establish protocols for how to use it. So a little bit about our company. FaceTech has been around since 2013, and we specialize in liveness. So liveness is remote validation of a person's identity. So we average 3.8 billion transactions a year, which works out to about 120 per second. So a lot of the financial institutions use our technology. We're being used right now by 5 of the state's mobile driver's licenses. We're used by Homeland Security for global entry. If you're traveling in and out of the United States, you use the FaceTech program, and for all the visa applications to make sure that people get in and out of the country quickly. We are also based around the world. We have 115 distributors around the world. We've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of countries who are using our technologies for passports, ID cards. In the United States, in the next year, you're going to see it on some of the driver's licenses as well. So one of the reasons we're using the technology, and the technology I'm talking about today, is UR codes. And the basis for using that is because of this issue, the issue of fake IDs. I'm not going to ask how many people had fake IDs when they were in college, but I might have had one myself. But it's changed a lot since then. When I was in college, you stood in front of a poster, and you might have had someone take a photo of you, and it looked like a driver's license from the state I was in. And people joke about it. It's a rite of passage, but it also has a lot of impacts. My last few years at DMV, I ran the Highway Safety Office for New York State, and I got notified of every single fatal crash involving a teen. So the volumes were high, and a lot of it were underage individuals getting a hold of alcohol, getting behind the wheel, and bad things happen. So when we look at fake IDs, everyone's like, oh, it's just a kid issue. The shooter for the CEO in Manhattan had a fake license that he ordered online. He presented that to travel to New York City. He used that to check in, and he presented that to the police officers when he was apprehended in Pennsylvania. It was a high-quality counterfeit that contained all the security features of a genuine New Jersey driver's license. Running DMV's investigation unit, we were looking at vehicles being purchased, houses being purchased, houses being stolen via identity theft with fake driver's licenses. So it's not just a kid's issue with going into a bar. Right now, identity theft is the #1 consumer crime in the United States, and it's increasing dramatically. If you click on this PowerPoint will be available afterwards. The Federal Trade Commission has a lot of information on it, breaks it down by state, breaks it down by city, county, and the volumes across the country continue to increase. If you go home, I wouldn't recommend doing it on your cell phone right now, but if you're home and you Google fake IDs, you'll see all kinds of different websites pop up. And I have students, and I'm like, how many people, have gone this? And a lot of them come back to me afterwards. So when we were running this, when I was running the investigation program in New York, we recovered about 3,000 fake licenses per year at underage events. And one of the things we did is we worked out an agreement with all the DAs that no one would get charged with a misdemeanor or felony for first-time offenses. And we would use it as an education tool. We would give them a fine, and they would have their driver's license privilege suspended for 90 days. No arrest, no misdemeanor, nothing that would follow them beyond that. And we had very few return customers. But when you're starting to look at like a typical old style fake ID, the quality was not that great, but unfortunately it's changed. If you go online right now and look at the websites, most of the websites are based in Eastern European countries. So you will go to place your order, and half the times I know this because we've placed orders multiple times just to see how fast it would work, what was available. And within about half the time, they would come back and say, we want proof that you're not a cop. Could you please send us your real driver's licenses? So high school students and teen and college students immediately snap a picture and upload it. So about half the people we caught in New York with fake IDs and similar stats in Maryland come back within a year as victims of identity theft. So most of the licenses that we see being manufactured are coming up out of the Pacific Rim countries. You'll see a care package being sent to a college of teapots, sneakers, Reeboks, you name it, full of fake licenses. And the prices are pretty reasonable, about $200. They come in sets of 2. So if one gets taken, you can go and try it again. Right now, U.S. Customs and Border Protection are intercepting about 20,000 fake licenses a month coming into the United States. And only 60% are for teens in the age groups of 18 to 22. A lot more of them are older, and they're being used for car purchases, house purchases, credit card blowouts, and it's really causing some issues, and it's hitting you in the pocketbook. So when we look at some of these counterfeits, recently Arlington Police Department in Virginia contacted us, and they asked us to look at the 5,000 documents they had recovered in the past 6 months, and there were fake licenses from 47 of the U.S. jurisdictions. They didn't have a lot from Hawaii and Alaska and Montana for whatever reason. They had none, but every other state had tons of them, and most of the Canadian provinces as well. And trying to decipher what was real was not was somewhat challenging. One second. So in these packages, it's not just driver's licenses. We're seeing immigration documents, we're seeing passports, we're seeing passport insert pages, we're seeing visa applications. And one of the reasons we're here today is we're also seeing a lot of college IDs. We're seeing a lot of college IDs to match up the information that they have. We're seeing blank templates being shipped over that could just be printed that have a lot of the security features that different colleges, different DMVs, different municipalities are using across the country. So as we see this, you know, is in that UR code. We don't get any of the personal data. Everything, we provide an encoder to any government agency, any school. It's completely free for them to use it for schools, government agencies, and nonprofits. And they put it behind their firewall so they can create ID cards that will biometrically link to that individual. So right now we've added about 400 police agencies in the past year. We have 5 DMVs piloting it. We're using it for 5 mobile driver's licenses for other DMVs. And within about 3 months, we'll be close to 5,000 police, fire, and EMT units across the country, adding that to their ID cards. Some of the municipalities, when we talk to it, are advertising the fact that they're adding it. So if a person shows up at their door in plain clothes in Augusta, Maine, they know the town has broadcast that everyone in Augusta, Maine, every one of their municipal employees has an ID card that could be presented to verify it's them. So basically, you enter the information that you want, add a photo, and it creates the UR code. It could be printed on a piece of paper, it could be printed on a driver's license. As I mentioned, it could also be used on a mobile DL. This is the specs on it. And one of the things we provide is it comes with a perpetual license. So whoever downloads our software, it's good for the perpetual license is as long as they want to use it. And we provide free verification tools via the Google app or the Apple app that'll give you a verification and validate it within about 3 to 4 seconds. So the technology's out there. We're starting to see it getting used more and more. We have one community college in Louisiana testing it. We have 5 other universities that are in the process of piloting it for their ID cards. And so far, the feedback has been pretty positive on it. If you scan it, you get almost an instantaneous response. It's either red, not a match, or green, it is a match. So as I mentioned, with the digital signature, the odds of someone beating that is about 1 in 300 million, plus the biometrics on top of it. But one of the things our CEO is always looking for new ways to learn about the technology. So he actually offers a spoof bounty for $600,000 if anyone could beat the technology. So when I teach a cybersecurity class and I mention this, and I have a lot of very excited students, and we have about 100,000 people a year attempt to beat it. No one's been successful. Usually a week after I give it to the students, I bring in pizza as compensation, but it works out pretty good with that. So this is the app that you can download for free. So go and talk to them is they're trying to identify some issues. They're seeing imposters, people getting into dorms, people getting into areas where they're not supposed to, and this allows them to verify that. It also allows them to verify for meals and other things like that. So whatever the college use cases are, it's pretty quick. You know, unfortunately, we're continuing to see a lot of imposters. I retired from DMV as an investigator 2 years ago, but Howard County, Maryland invited me to come down to the Merriweather facility in Baltimore for a Luke Bryant concert last year. So we encountered 250 fake licenses in the first 2 hours, and we encountered 150 licenses being used by somebody else. They were genuine licenses being used by a different individual. So Maryland is going to be one of our first states, the DMVs, that are actually going to be piloting the technology on their driver's licenses. So it's just interesting seeing how it moves out. So here's some of the use cases that we highlighted with it. So far, the more we push it out, the more we test it, the feedback has been very, very positive with it. We've been focusing on government use, nonprofit use. So one of our first partners was the Amber Alert program. So starting later this year, when they start issuing an Amber Alert, it will have a UR code on it. So they have a suspect child, they can scan and validate really quickly. Unfortunately, with the Amber Alert groups, they're seeing appearances change as soon as someone takes a child. Hair colors get changed, head shave, whatever the scenario might be. And this allows a quick means of verification that's very, very quick and efficient. The other area that we're working on is with Project Lifesaver, who deals with nonverbal kids and Alzheimer's patients. So one of the challenges they have is they provide a GPS bracelet, but it's limited on what type of information they can add. So we've been working with them. They've been adding a UR code right onto the bracelets, and they're also taking stickers and adding it onto shoes, clothing, and other apparel so that if someone's found, they could quickly identify them and get them back where they belong. They're located in Norfolk, Virginia. I was down there at their facility about 4 weeks ago, and they had someone who wandered from Tennessee who wound up on the beach down in Virginia. It was a 19-year-old nonverbal child. They don't know how he got from here to there, but he had been missing for 5 days. The GPS alarm started going off. They intercepted, talked to him, but he could not communicate where he's from. And it took a while. He had the band, so they knew he was part of Project Lifesaver, but trying to find where he came from was somewhat challenging. So hopefully we'll see some improvements on that in the next year. From the DMV world, we're starting to see it. You'll see it added to driver's licenses, titles, and registrations. The U.S. Virgin Islands became the first U.S. jurisdiction to add it to their titles. There was a little internal fighting within the company who would go down and make sure that was running smoothly. I did not win, but everyone else seemed to have fun with it. As I mentioned, we're working with a lot of the passport manufacturers, especially internationally, to add that as well. So we're also working with some of the healthcare entities, especially in Canada, where they issue a driver's license and a health card with the same photo produced by the same company. They're going to start integrating that this year as well. As I mentioned, the biggest thing we're having right now is police IDs, municipal IDs, fire, EMTs. So as a police officer, when you retire after 10 years of service, you're issued an ID card that allows you to carry a firearm, a handgun, anywhere in the continental United States. What do you think the security standards are for that card? There are none. They just have to have a photo ID issued by their home agency. So we see pieces of paper with the photo, home lamination. So as we start talking about this technology, that seems to be one of the immediate areas where we're seeing more and more law enforcement agencies want to jump on board with that. So if you scan this on the phone with just any camera, any smartphone, it will prompt you to take a selfie of me and verify that I am Owen McShane. So you'll have to get a little close to do that. So I'll be around afterwards or over at our booth. And over at our booth right around the corner, if you stop by, we can actually make you your own UR code, print it on a card, and just try it out yourself. And if you're really good at hacking and you can hack it, let me know. We had that $600,000 cash prize. So we're right around the corner, and Faith and myself will be here all week. So please stop by. Any questions for me? Yes. So from the DMV world, we see a lot of people who get pulled over and they'll provide someone else's name or they'll use someone else's driver's license. With 20-somethings, if they know their roommate's information, they'll provide that. This is a means for them to validate that it is actually you who has that information. And one of the other challenges, how many people have traveled and lost their license? Well, when I worked at DMV about 5 times a week, we had someone who went to Florida, Texas, or California and lost their license and wasn't able to get back. So it was a nightmare with TSA, sending letters, sending photos. What we can do with this now is if they contact us, the DMVs have the ability to generate a UR code based on the photo they have on file, email it to that person. TSA will accept it, validate it. The odds of someone spoofing that is still 1 in 300 million as an email. plus the biometrics, so they're allowing people to go that route. We also see a lot of issues with fraud, from universities, from DMVs, other government agencies, where they call and say, hi, I'm George Bush, I need to renew my driver's license. As long as they have the information, a lot of DMVs were allowing that to happen. Unfortunately, someone renewed George Soros' driver's license in one of the states in the Northeast last year and used it to buy 5 cars. So this allows the DMV to send that person a text or an email to do a remote validation. So it's just tools to help government agencies work, help reduce fraud that way. Like I mentioned, we give this out to government agencies completely free. We do work with a lot of financial institutions, and one of our biggest customers is actually Match.com. So Match.com owns every single dating site online in the US, half of South America, half of Europe. And one of the issues they had was making sure people only had one account and make sure that some of their power users who upload new photos every week, it remains the same person using that photos. So they just released a couple interesting releases about how much fraud was reduced by that, from over 1 million complaints a year to under 1,000 complaints a year. So it helped them. Hopefully we'll see it on the DMV side and some of the other benefit fraud. Thank you, though.
Is there any, how are your practices different than some of the, what do you do to avoid the widespread fears of, on the other, fraud is one side. On the other hand, we have widespread fears of like a surveillance state. How do you address those fears?
So one of the things that's unique what you want to make sure you're not taking action inappropriately. Just one last thing with that is our company doesn't get any of the PII. We don't want any of the PII. We give every agency who wants it their own encoder. They put it behind their firewall. We don't want any of the information coming to us. There's no checks with us. So that kind of helps a little bit as well. Any other questions? Yes. All set? All right. Thank you for your time today.
Excellent. Thank you, Owen, for that insightful session. Our next session is Education Policy in 2026. What's working, what's broken, what's next? We'll dive into these critical questions and explore how we can create a more effective, inclusive, and future-ready learning environment. Get ready for a conversation that challenges perspectives and sparks new possibilities. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our moderators. We have Dr. Tonya Cannon, the lead faculty at Westcliff University, and Dr. Donna Vallis, the chief educational luminary at Educational Luminaries. And our panelists, we have Sheila J. Simpson, the executive director at Focus Marriage Ministries. And we have Jill Ann Flanders, the consultant of early childhood education at Center for Educational Improvement, as well as Dr. Angelica Bembiz, for co-founder of Education Luminaries at B Global Publisher, and John Tobin, the professor at Pepperdine GSEP. Let's give them a big round of applause. Welcome.
I'll be right there. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Oh, we've got a little good morning there. Oh, let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. Oh, that's so much better. Love that. Well, today we want to talk about some educational policy, and I think most people that come here to Education 2.0, this is my 4th time being here at this conference, you are going to find some like-minded people here. And we know that education needs to shift and change, and it's way behind. And now that AI is open to the public, we're way behind, and we're falling further and further behind. So we're not going to focus only on AI today, but really also dive into the human element, to the curricular element, to that policy element that is preventing our schools from actually moving forward. We are stuck in old systems, and our policies and practices are not allowing us to get out. So, without further ado, I am Dr. Donna. I am the CEO of Inspiring Leaders and co-founder with Dr. B over here, right in the center. She is a publisher. We have a table in the back, Educational Luminaries, where we publish great innovators in education into collaborative books. So that's a little bit about me. I would like the rest of the panel to introduce themselves.
We'll just go down the list. So I'm Dr. Tonya Cannon. I am lead faculty at Westcliff University. I teach also at UCLA Extension and Delaware State University. I have been an educator for about 18 years. I have been a practicing HR professional for over 30 years. And it might also interest you to know I'm a filmmaker. So I bring a lot of that into writing and creating characters that people relate to. So without further ado.
And good morning. I'm delighted to have you all here. I'm Judge John Tobin, and I'm a retired federal judge. I was the chief judge of the Social Security Court in Long Beach, California. But I've had the real privilege of teaching at Pepperdine's Graduate School of Education and Psychology for 23 years. And for an adjunct to have that long a tenure is pretty good. But Pepperdine's been extremely good to me. I teach organizational leadership and change theory, and I'm delighted to engage in conversations on those topics with you this morning.
And good morning. I am Angelica Benavides, best known as Dr. B, and I'm considered the ultimate legacy builder. I am a global chair person for Leaders of All Nation International. I am also a publisher, B Global Publisher, and I'm a co-founder of Improve Ed Exchange, where we're trying to revolutionize the educational system and creating roundtable discussions to really dive into what needs to be changed and what's really working to have that deep research that's going to impact and make a difference.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jill Flanders. I am a mom and a grandma, and it's the grandma part that's really
stuck with me the most over the last few years. I have been retired from being an elementary principal where I worked in 2 different schools over 27 years. But during that time, became focused on early childhood education. And that's where the focus with the grandchildren has really come back to. During my retirement, I have now been executive director of a couple of nonprofit organizations focused on early childhood education and educating the whole child, which we'll have a chance to talk about a little here, because most of all, we cannot lose sight of the fact that we are here educating children, and they are going to be leading us in the near future. So that's kind of my background. There's some books and there's some other stuff, but most importantly, being a grandma.
Nice. I'm Sheila Simpson. I'm the executive director of Focus Marriage Ministries. We're a nonprofit international organization, been in business for over 40 years, and we help engaged and married couples. Where I come into this is we have trained facilitators, which is adult education, that meet with the engaged and married couples to read the results of an inventory test. So I'm more in the practical side of things, not so much the academic, but we have learned a lot about how to train our facilitators, and we're in 21 different languages.
Fantastic. So up here we have a wide range of experiences from early childhood, K-12, higher education, adult education, and those are all similar but different realms, and they all have their unique problems. So I think I want to open the question for our panel, and for all of you to start to contemplate is, if you had policymakers right in front of you, and let's keep in mind, a lot of policymakers know very little about education other than they went to school, they experienced teaching and learning in a certain way, and that's all they know, right? So if you had policymakers in front of you, what do you want them to know about what's working so they know what not to change?
I think I'm just going to answer this. It's like I feel really strong about that we should not be focused in like working on preparing our students for taking tests. Instead, we should prepare them for lifelong skill learners, entrepreneurship, and getting real world skills instead of just preparing them for a test. I am completely against that. So if they were in front of me, it's like I would truly talk about
I
that.
cannot agree more, Dr. B. We did it right in this country with a public education policy back in the 1800s. What we've done wrong is stick to it. The format that was chosen really is a conveyor belt, and that's not where we live right now. But we did start by looking at the whole child, by thinking about the fact that they come from a family unit, that no 3-year-old goes to school on their own. They go to school with everyone else that's been with them from birth. And then how do we support that initial learning with their family and move them into the system that does need to be changed? So in terms of policy, yes, public education, it's a good thing. You're probably all a product of it. But what needs to change is, how do we now adapt to where we are in this world and all of the amazing technological, scientific, I want to talk about the moon, but that's not on our list today, all of these things that are part of our world that make sense now, and thinking about the future.
And I just want to say that we want this to be an interactive session, so please feel free to speak up if you have thoughts. My thought on this particular issue is that respectfully, I don't know how respectfully this is going to be received, but respectfully, policymakers don't know if they're a foot or horseback, honestly, in a lot of the sense. And I think that is what has created sort of this conveyor belt, this, I can't think of the word, but conveyor, I guess will do, of one size fits all in education, and it just doesn't. I think some of you heard me speak at the earlier panel about the VARC framework. Some of our students are visual learners, some are auditory learners, some are kinesthetic learners, et cetera. And we need to be able to speak to those various elements and test and assess to that, as opposed to, well, this is how we're doing it, and get on board or sucks to be you kind of a thing. I'm very kind of direct, so apologies if that's too much.
I want to encourage you, whether you have a thought or not, say something. Join in this conversation. The paradigm, the environment for higher education and all of education is rapidly changing. The notion of the conveyor belt, of the assembly line, is just no longer effective or useful. We have, at my university, we have people that are 60, 26, and all points in between. Some of them were last in school 5 to 10 years ago. But now they're coming back, taking the next step. And schools and institutions of education have to be sensitive to the fact that the lockstep process of years past is not only unattractive, but inefficient and not particularly useful.
And I guess from an employer standpoint, what I'm saying missing is the kids that are coming out to get the jobs know the technology, they know how to text really well, but they don't know how to write an email. And my customers expect an email to say, dear so-and-so, and thank you so-and-so, and some context in between versus two words. Even though they didn't text it, they wrote it in an email.
Set curriculum for all students that's important, because skills like grammar and writing and reading and being able to articulate some basic skills like that need to be taught across the board. And if we completely abandon that method, don't you think that's exactly why we're having such a problem with performance levels? And obviously, if you read the news, you know that our students are not performing very well these days.
Well, let me say that on one level,
Totally agree.
I certainly agree, but here's where I disagree. No one said anything about doing away with structure, rigor, discipline.
Right.
And I teach at the graduate level, and it terrifies me that we are letting these people loose with PhDs who don't even remember the Vietnam War. Now, I realize I'm dating myself, but be that as it may. their situational awareness, as we used to call it in the military, is lacking. They are so focused on one thing, getting through. My favorite example of a failing student is the one who comes up to me and says, "Professor, tell me what an A paper for this course looks like." And I said, I'll know that as soon as you write it. But what someone else has done in the previous classes has no relevance to what you can do. And that's what we're looking for. What can you do?
And, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I also want to add, because it's actually going to pivot into the next question that I have bubbling up in my head here. States, I'll give you an example. So for instance, New York State, where I live, we have new policies in place around Portrait of a Graduate. They spent 3 years going around to companies, organizations, parents, schools. They put a whole new vision together of what a graduate needs to look like right now. And it's a great plan. And I've done the work that is underlying that, but our systems are not allowing that. We keep adding more and more and more, and now teach this content and teach this content. Our teachers are so overloaded with all of the content that they have to teach to prepare their kids for those tests that we're not getting to those basic skills. And so when you talk about literacy and you're talking about grammar and writing, they should be reading, writing, and understanding and communicating in every single class. Every teacher is a reading and writing teacher. There shouldn't be such a thing as, well, I'm a science teacher, but I also need to teach my kids how to read and write in scientific terms. And we're not to a place where teachers feel like they have the ability to do that, because it's like, let's cover all this content. We're going to shove it all in the kid's head. We're pouring it into them just like they're a pitcher, and we're pouring all the water into the pitcher. And now it's spilling over. They can't
They can only
keep
retain
it all.
some.
They can only retain so much. And so we really need to narrow it down, because you know what? My son said it best. He's 23 now. Mom, why would I ever need to go to college when everything I need to know I can look up on this? Right? So we're in a different age. And yes, we have to teach our kids how to read and how to write and how to communicate in multiple forms. And that is the core. So the core is really around critical thinking skills, communication skills. It's really around teaching the kids the skills they need to be successful. Content will come later, right? And we teach that through content, but we don't need to teach all of the content. Let's teach some core content and go really deep so that we can communicate about it and think about it.
We have a
Yes, thank you. I do have a question. I have been in public school for over at least probably 27 years. And then I was in private school at a high level day boarding school in Austin, Texas. And then I opened my own school, and I've had that for 17 years. And my question is this. In Texas, I have found it to be extremely difficult to actually make changes. I feel like the schools and the students are carrying the burden of it not being successful, but unless you have governmental backup on this, and so that's really kind of my question is, what pathway can we develop that we can actually affect real change? Because everybody's talking about this, but I know in Texas, it never happens. So that's really why I opened my own school. And so I'm very curious to hear, what are your ideas about really helping us to affect change? Thank you.
What's different about your own school?
My own school, it's a private school, and I don't have to follow the same policies as public school. And I realized after I was at this day boarding school for like 5 years, wow, the things that they are not held to, that public school is held to. And I'm a huge proponent of public school, and the majority of our citizens go there. And so I find it very sad that they just can't kind of make the change. I was very lucky to have Nelson Coulter, who was voted secondary principal of the year, like over a decade in Texas, and I learned a lot from him. And he would come back when I was in public school and say, it's just not going to change. It's just not going to change. And I kind of see we're still there because, yeah, I'm not held to that same, those same guidelines, but public school does have to change. And I'm curious, how do y'all, I mean, what kind of pathway can we use to do that?
I'm hearing a connection between what Donna said and what you're saying around time.
Yeah.
That it's the time to process what the core requirements are to be a communicating good human, but to also incorporate and practice critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
And not lose sight that it's also our obligation to teach every child, no matter where they're at and what skills they come to us with.
Right.
So there's a whole other component of this conversation around education policy that we can't lose sight of.
And I
Right.
also want to make just one point about the fact that there's the faculty and there's the student, right? That's
Right.
a partnership. And that's what I refer to it as when I'm introducing my classes to my constituents. This is a partnership. I'm going to do my part, but you got to do yours. And the partnership really means that we both have to be engaged in this process. I can't be phoning it in. And it's very easy to do that when you've been doing it for a while, but you also see the results of, you know, I get students where in an email, which means you have a whole keyboard.
Right.
And they're writing, you know, I seen where you posted. It makes my eye want to twitch. I mean, I'm just, why? And those are the kinds of things that, as an educator, which, and I also want to make this other point, there's a difference between being an educator and just being an instructor. And so we need to bridge that gap a little better as well. But to your question is, what can we do? We need to engage. We need to dial back in. We need to get them, students, is who I'm referring to as them, we need to get students dialed back in to strive for excellence.
Right. I think maybe I didn't explain myself well on that. I think the teachers and the schools are doing the best job they can possibly do. And just like what you're talking about, what I'm talking about are the entities that govern the public schools. That, to me, is what needs to change. And somehow somebody has to help do that, because it doesn't matter what political area it is, how long, it's just still the same thing. Public schools in particular have to follow those guidelines. And I think teachers and the administrators, everything, have done a fabulous job. But I was really talking more like, you know, the state legislatures, things like that. How can we do that? And I won't talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And your question is the exact question of why Dr. B and I connected several years ago in Northern Ireland at a castle. Very cool story. We'll tell you later. But that question of how do we change the system? So you have to understand education. How many of you in this room has education touched in some way? It better be 100%.
Right.
How many of you has healthcare touched in some way? Those are probably the only two things that 100% of hands should raise ever in this country, right? So the educational system is as big as our healthcare system, right? Or maybe slightly smaller. So we have to be cognizant of that, and that is why this is a behemoth to move. The Titanic doesn't turn on a dime, but our society has. And so to your point, what I have seen over time working at the state level and the university level and in multiple districts, large districts and rural districts, is that there are some really good practices. And your school, it sounds like, is the perfect example of something that's stepping outside of the box, doing things differently, being able to show success. There are also public schools who are doing that because they recognize that if a charter school can do some of those things, so can we. We just need to change the narrative a little bit. But what I see happening is that everyone is working in silos, right? You've got this school, so innovation, picture a map. You have a map of the globe, and you go to the ice cream store, and you reach your hand into the bucket of sprinkles, you take out some sprinkles, and you drop them on the map. Where every little sprinkle lands, those are little tiny places where innovation is truly happening and totally shifting education, but none of them are talking to each other. None of them are like banding together to push for change. And so what Dr. B and I have started doing is really bringing these innovative people together and publishing books. And we're going to be holding a conference for these people as well. We actually have a couple of our authors here at this conference. I see one sitting out in the audience right now, Lisa Polk. Sorry calling you out, but we've got to band together because what's our favorite phrase, Dr. B, from
Yeah, we don't compete, we complete each other. And I want to really touch on Texas because I'm from Texas. But you know the problem is bigger than the school system, and hopefully during this new election, some problems will be gone. And oops, did I say that? Right. But it will. But I think we also need to create different pathways for our kids. And one of the problems that I've discovered going into different universities and colleges is that we're preparing our kids again for tests, skilled, right? Taking tests, but we're not preparing them even for careers that we don't even know that are going to exist in the future. So how do we prepare them for those opportunities that are going to be opening up for our children? We're only preparing most of them, and we're introducing, and I'm not against doctors and lawyers and teachers because, you know, we need them, but there's so many careers, and then we need to prepare our kids and move away from the sit and get system where you have to sit and learn. We have to get them to explore, to become researchers at a young age and really tap into their interests. No, you can't become this. These are the careers that exist.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my take on
Two
it.
questions out here.
One point I want to make before we move on to your point on how do we change that? The parents have to get involved as well. I mean, and when you're talking about K through 12, that's directly the parents and superintendents and school boards and all of that sort of thing. Higher education, which is what my space is, we don't really care about that. I can't really, once your kid hits 18, I can't talk to you about your kid's grades or anything like that. So it's sort of it's a two-pronged approach in my opinion, that the parents have to be more engaged, dialed in, to make those changes, to force those changes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so there's like four people out here who've got questions. I've got one here.
This
Five
young lady
now.
had her hand up.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then
Is it
5.
okay? She's had her hand up for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
I just wanted to piggyback on the parents, right? Like, what does policy change really look like around providing alternatives so that parents in different situations don't feel like they don't have that choice, or having choice around the way education is structured doesn't create new discrimination issues? So that was my question around, like, what does policy change even look like to provide these choices?
Right, and I think in charter schools that I've worked at, when you sign up for a charter school, like the parent is actually signing an agreement that they're going to be involved, right? We don't do that in education at all. I haven't met very many parents who don't care about how their kids are doing in school, but they struggle to know how to support them because they were never supported, right? And so I think there are some places that have some really great family engagement programs, and we have a lot to learn from them, because involvement is not the same as engagement. Involvement is they're coming to open house, they show up to parent-teacher conferences, engagement is they're involved in the decision making. They're involved in uh, getting strategies to support their kids when they're at home. They're much. It's just a different ballgame.
Level of advocacy, I think.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
So I live in Wisconsin, and Rhinelander, Wisconsin has had a group called Partners in Education, PI, for 15 years. They have been investing, 60 businesses have been investing in the school system. They hold numerous financial literacy, et cetera. So my question is, it's not policy like at the legislative level, but how much could relationships with the business community address some of what you're talking about?
Absolutely. And what you're doing in Wisconsin, how can that help Texas and New York and New Mexico and other places?
Okay, well, I have to then do a caveat to the filmmaker. I mean, I'm in the business world, and 20 years ago on Nightline, the design firm IDEO showed what design thinking looked like. They had teams of people create shopping carts.
Yep.
Fast forward, design thinking has permeated the business world because of one film on one TV show. I think we need an education channel like the Food Channel, and I think you should run it. Okay.
Woo! Yeah. Anyone out there? Oh, we've got a producer right here.
Yeah, here's your producer.
But I will say that at least at the higher ed level, we have PACs and business advisory councils that help us to develop the curriculum. But sometimes the businesses, if you don't take every one of their suggestions, I don't want to play anymore.
Right.
Right. And so it's one of those things where we have to manage our own expectations about what can and can't be done. But I also think that it goes back to being more, we keep using the word engaged with the business community. One of the things as an HR professional that I have seen is the complaints of businesses. Even when I'm looking at resumes, it's like, are you messing with me? Is this a prank? Those are the kinds of things, and that's not a compliment, obviously, right? You want to be able to have people be able to put cogent sentences together, to be able to speak well and represent themselves well. That goes back to that striving for excellence. That goes back to mediocrity not being sufficient. Well, I got a C, that's all right. In my world, never. I was upset with a B, quite frankly. So it's that kind of thing that we have to change the mindset of parents, students, educated, whatever it is, to speak to that a little better from a community standpoint.
Yeah, and I would add to that of shifting even the grading system, because my son is the perfect example of, well, I did the work. Why do I need to turn it in? I know I got a 0. A 0 means nothing to me. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about an A or a B. Like, give me relevance. He wants relevance. That's what our kids want.
True.
And
Let me say that in the area of higher education, I very much like the good the good doctor says, it is absolutely critical to engage business in not only curriculum formation, but also in delivering the work during the course of the year. At my school, we adapted our approach about 40 years ago under the rubric of make it real. What's going on in the textbook is all well and good, but it's the real world where the rubber hits the road. And it's very important to bring the road into the classroom so that they get an experience of what it feels like. And so in that regard, I couldn't agree more with my colleagues' comments. I will tell you that there is a certain amount of resistance that I've seen in business lately, principally because their ability to deduct certain activities with educational institutions now is a cap. It used to be wide open. But that's getting down into the weeds. I take your point.
I do want to add that in Texas, because I was an educator and director in special education, And we partnered up with some businesses, and what we did, we would put our special education students there, prepare them, and we would send mentors with them at the job place. And it was amazing. Like, I loved watching them just grow and being placed there.
The school's trying to fit something like that into these parameters that have been set by our policies. Like those policies, we're adding more policies to become more innovative, but we're not taking away the old policies that are keeping us stuck in the system. That's got to change.
And I believe that what businesses are looking for are workers who can collaborate, who can strategize, who can think outside the box. As an early educator, I'd like to see our sandboxes, our Legos, and our water tables go with kids all the way through high school, because that's where the innovation is happening. That's where the creativity is allowed to spread. We're not very good at that. We're very good at putting things, as Donna said, into silos. I also think that our businesses are looking not necessarily for experts in their fields. They're looking for those that can think with someone else to work together. Oh, guess what? Aren't those the skills that we do really well in early childhood?
I would like, as an employer, to have some employees that have competence skills that go back to those core bases that we talked about. Because the policies that are, and I'm a mom of two, so I can speak from that, and I've been through college, so I've been through the education system. But what I'm seeing as an employer is the policies aren't matching up what I need as business skills. And that is starting to change my business and have an impact to it, not for the better. When I can't get employees to show up on time, I can't get employees to decide that, it's important to finish that one email or that one phone call to that person, to build a relationship with somebody, to rather come in and shut their door than to talk to everybody else in the office. That's impacting my business negatively. That's not helping. I want somebody, I can teach them a lot if they have the base. I can't teach them the base because they think they don't need that. They think it's above it. They think it's old school. It's not old school. It's missing the communication. And there's a big disconnect, especially what I'm hearing here, between the educational policies and what businesses need. And we need innovative thinkers and people who can think out of the box, but we also need them to have the skill set to be a competent person to begin with. Somebody that's you want to hire. Somebody who doesn't think that the employer owes them, something that they can contribute to the business with, something they can feel a part of. They are so disconnected now from everything, they don't understand how to be part of a business, how to really think of, oh, that's a new product. I can make that mine. I can help the business do that. They might be able to think out of the box, but they don't have that relationship to figure out what to do with that piece. That's the big disconnect I'm seeing as an employer.
Question right here. Yep. Yeah. You've been waiting patiently. Thank you.
Thank you. Want to kind of challenge something a little bit. I apologize. I'm known as the challenger. Everybody thinks that I challenge things way too much.
We need those.
Yeah.
We need those.
So I'm an adjunct professor at Brandeis University. I teach specifically online, asynchronous. That's my passion. My day job is in the business world. So I kind of have that connection between the two, which I think is helpful. And I like your idea of building that portrait of a graduate. But I wonder if that exercise, I think it's valuable because it teaches what it means to be bridging that gap between the education and the professional world. How does that avoid, this is a two-part question, by the way, how does that avoid the one-size-fits-all approach? Because you've got this goalpost that is very well defined, knowing that the folks that you're going to want working for your business most likely might not fit that exact mold, right? So how do you use that and avoid the one-size-fits-all? And then how do you build policy around that? Because we all know policy moves at the speed of molasses, if that fast, right? And the definition of what it means to be successful professionally and personally changes rapidly, right? You talked about collaboration. The definition of collaboration changed dramatically in 2020. obviously, as a result of a global pandemic, but it continues to evolve quickly. Quickly is an understatement, right? You mentioned email. Who uses email, right? I want people to be able to write, but I can't specifically say email because nobody uses email anymore in the professional world. And so how do you, A, how do you avoid the one size fits all? And then B, how do you build policy around that is agile,
Yep.
I guess, if you will?
I think it's a combination of things. So in New York State, one of the things in 2 years, it will no longer be a requirement for students to take Regents exams in high school to demonstrate that they have mastered all of the content, right? Instead, if New York State or any state is going to be successful in that, they need to be grading based on competencies, right? Based on the critical thinking skills. And I have been part of schools that do that. So I can look at a student's report card and say, when a parent is saying, my child is so frustrated, what do I do? And I can look at a report card and say, well, she's comprehending everything in all of her subjects. She's able to communicate in all of her subjects, but she's struggling with writing in all of her subjects. So now I have a writing problem, and I can go to all the teachers and say, we need to ramp up our writing because we've got kids like this one who's struggling in all classes. And now we can develop those writing skills because now we have something to go off of. We're not, yes, learning some basic content is important. We have to teach kids how to do that. But the skills, if we're grading the skills across the board, they're going to get the skills because those are important. And we can easily say, no matter what job you get, you're going to have to know how to communicate. You're going to have to know how to email and talk and to your boss and to the clients and everything else. They get that. But when a kid asks their geometry teacher, and this is a real story, when will I ever use a proof? And the geometry teacher says, well, probably never. Yep. Students can pursue art and music. They can pursue sciences. And if they still want to take those Regents exams because that's the way they think and they want to memorize all this content, that will still be an option for them. But we have to have pathways for our kids so that they're learning all the skills. Once you have the skills, the content doesn't matter. You can learn the content and shift your career any way you want. But without the skills, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then I think we had a question over there.
in this, how do I live in this world? Like when everything is always scary. So we're expecting them to come and learn how to read and how to write and how to do math. But how do you support them? How does policy help support the mental health of our students when they're always in survival mode.
I'm not sure policy does. I think it's a function of training the educators to be mindful, and again, here's that word again, engage, to know when someone needs maybe additional support. Westcliff, where I teach full-time, they're a majority of international students. So clearly there's some of the students are impacted by what's going on in Iran, in Ukraine, in other areas. And as I said, if they're in crisis, they're not learning anything. So how do we figure out the academic rigor of it all in addition to ensuring that they're supported? And that goes back to I, as an educator, being able to say, you know what, I know that this was due on Sunday, but I'm going to give you a couple extra days. And what else and asking them that question, what can I do to support you? Not enable, not coddle, not be the crutch, but be a support. And that's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. And I will say, I do education of trauma in schools, and oftentimes I'm given 20 minutes for a PD day.
Yeah.
I need 3 hours in order for teachers to learn that.
But this is also shifting school as a safe place for children and their families, and that needs to be based on the format that we welcome everyone here. You are all equal in our eyes. We care deeply about how you are feeling, and when we are feeling comfortable in that part, then we can do the academics. The old Maslow-Bloom thing, because I never know which one comes first.
Right.
But that's the
Yes, and also
climate, the
teachers are
culture
also
we need to
impacted
have.
and having
the
to hold
teachers
space.
have to feel exactly that same welcome.
So a challenge I have, are there EAPs available that can be integrated into policy for supporting teachers? And
I think that's a great question. And in fact, we invite you to our next roundtable
really.
that we're going to have because we have trauma and behavior. That's a big discussion that we want to dive into and really find out what is happening around the world with this trauma that's occurring. And at the same time, also not just keeping traditional schooling anymore. We have to have the online, the hybrid, and of course the charter schools that are there. But there has to be variety instead of just the traditional schooling.
Is it okay if I just add a quick
Sure.
follow-up? So I'm a psychologist, and I used to do after school teaching for a little bit, so I have a little bit of my foot in both worlds too. And my question is, how as healthcare providers, mental health care providers, can we have more dialogue with the schools? Because I personally, I would love to go into schools and also do trauma informed, didactics or something. I also specialize in autism, and I know there's a lot of kids who are autistic or have ADHD, and they don't even know how to communicate some of the traumas that they're experiencing. So how do we give not just the knowledge to the teachers, but the language to the students as well who may be going through these things?
And that's a big problem that's happening right now. I hate to go into ICE a little bit, but they're arresting some of these children that are autistic, learning disabled, with other disabilities that can't communicate that they have immigration status. Sorry that I'm going into this, but it's a great need. And then they're put into these facilities and going into big trauma even more. Right,
So I
because they
think we
can't
have,
communicate. So what do we do?
We have 1 minute. Oh, our time's up.
Yeah.
We could stay here and talk all day with you.
Can he ask us a question? That gentleman?
No, our time. Their time.
We are.
Their time is up.
Sorry.
So let's keep this conversation going. Come back and talk with Dr. B and I, and we're in the back left corner when you walk in the room over there. Would love to keep this conversation going because we complete each other, we don't compete, and we don't have all the answers, and this room certainly doesn't have all the answers, but we can figure a whole lot out together, right? So we can put a big dent in things, so we want to talk to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Yeah. Yeah, there is. We're going to. We're going to.
Really need a handrail here.
What an energizing session. Thank you, panelists, for that. Now it's time to celebrate the amazing people and organizations making a real difference in the education sector. This recognition session honors those whose passion, dedication, and innovative ideas light the way for a brighter future in learning. Before we begin, let's take a moment to thank our sponsors for their unwavering support. I'd like to call on stage Giulio Vigilo, the owner of Paul Mitchell Schools, welcome, to present our certificates. Thank you. Hello. And I would also like to call our silver sponsor from FaceTech to the stage to accept their certificate. Now I would like to call our bronze sponsors, Swiss Informatics Society SI, to the stage. Welcome. Would you like to say something brief to everybody?
Thank you so much for to be here, and I'm very okay. Thank you very much for all and for the education, and we are very proud to be here.
Excellent. Now we'd like to welcome KGS Foundation, Service for All, our bronze sponsor, to the stage to accept their certificate. Welcome. All right, our next awards are going to be for those innovators who are redefining education. And this first one is for Alexander Zalde for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Anything, we'd love for that as well.
Me and my team, we just want to thank everyone, especially the Education 2.0 for inviting us here. Thank you so much.
Our next award is for Arlene Canaz for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award.
Thank you for having us here. Again, my team is back there as well, and we're just very grateful to be here, and we'll be sharing later this afternoon. So please come back and listen to us. We'd appreciate that.
Our next award is for Brandon Jackson for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award.
Wow, this is both humbling and exciting at the same time. I see a lot of great knowledge out here, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
The next award is for Carolyn Bailey for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award.
So I'm from England, but I've traveled here for this conference from Mexico, which is where I'm currently working. It's a great opportunity to share and listen and know that wherever in the world you're working in education, we're facing the same problems, but we do it with the same passion and the same love and the same care for every one of our students. So thank you all.
This next award is for Damon Andrew for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. This next award is for the Education Illuminaries for Education 2.0 Conference Outstanding Organization Award. Congratulations.
I want to thank everyone for being here, and to all of our authors who have been collaborative authors for our books in the past 2 books. We have another one coming up, and for this beautiful woman right here who went along with my crazy idea of we need to change the entire educational system together. So I want to thank her and my partner, Gavin, who just supports me, supports every crazy idea I have.
And I want to thank Donna for also following along with my big ideas and crazy ideas. And thank all of you for trying to make a difference and continue to make a difference. Don't give up no matter what. We have to make a difference in education because our kids need us. Thank you.
Our next award is for Jeanette Cannon for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award.
I'm just very grateful to be here, part of the Education 2.0, and for my team as well. Thank you.
Our next award is for Jennifer Tibion for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Jennifer is a teacher and junior leader at Tucson International Academy. With a decade in teaching profession, she has redefined the future-ready classroom of empowering middle schoolers to take the lead in shaping their own success. An international educator driven by the Utang Nalab, Jennifer also serves through music ministry and shares motivational content fueled by her love for books.
Thank you, everybody. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. It's a dream come true. I'm so grateful to Education 2.0 and, of course, to the whole TIA community, Tucson International Academy. I'm actually from the Philippines, but I represent one of the teammates of the Tucson International Academy panelists for this afternoon. And dear educators and innovators, let's just continue to build a future where every learner is seen and every classroom is limitless. Thank you very much.
This next award is for Jillian Flanders for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Jill Flanders is a consultant of early childhood education at the Center of Educational Improvement. With eccentric interests in music, the arts, and environmental science and education, Jill completed her BA and MED and CAGS at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and was an elementary school teacher with an award-winning public school principal for 37 years. She served on planning and advisory committees for the MA Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and the MA Department of Early Education and Care.
MA's Massachusetts. Thank you so much. None of this happens without an incredibly supportive family. Let me begin with that. And with all of the wonderful ideas that are in this room, now I feel like Miss Congeniality. Thank you so much.
The next award is for John Tobin for Education 2.0 Conference Visionaries Award. Judge John Tobin and professor of Pepperdine GSEP is a distinguished legal educator, jurist, and military officer with over 3 decades of academic and public service experience. He dedicated 28 years to the United States Army Reserve and more than 30 years as a judge advocate, General's Corps, retiring as colonel and staff judge advocate, a Juris Doctor graduate of the Louis D. Brandeis School of Law and the University of Louisville. He is recognized for expertise in appellate practice, leadership, and higher education.
I want to say thank you to all of you for demonstrating your commitment to the future of education. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And I want to join you in celebrating that dedication. I'd also like to thank Pepperdine University. Took 23 years ago, took an actor with a law degree and allowed him to evolve into a gifted teacher who's won a number of awards at the school and then here again today. Keep working, keep challenging yourselves, and keep striving forward.
This next award is for Leah Reynolds for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Dr. Leah Reynolds, the CEO of Distinct Consulting Solutions, is a nationally recognized civil rights and equity leader, entrepreneur, and former Division I track and field athlete. Dr. Reynolds' leadership and impact have earned national recognition, including an invitation to the White House. Known for her strategic vision, legal precision, and transformative approach to equity, she partners with institutions nationwide to build systems that are not only compliant, but courageous, data-informed, and future-ready. Our next award winner is Lita Lynn Salde for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Ladane is a remote learning instructor and teacher at Tucson International Academy with 18 years of experience in education. In her current role, she develops lesson plans, designs assessments, and offers targeted support to help students thrive online. Guided by a mission to create accessible and empowering learning for every student, she uses differentiated instruction, cross-cultural communication, and educational technology.
Thank you, Education 2.0, for having us.
My team and I would like to thank everyone here today, and we are grateful for this opportunity.
Our next award is for Mark Narado for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Mark Narado is a full-time high school educator at the Tucson International Academy, Midvale campus, where he teaches the English language arts and social studies. He brings innovative approaches to the classroom, motivating students through the transformative power of theater arts. Leveraging his extensive experience and strong background in speech and verbal communication, he integrates artistic expression into his teaching methods.
Hello, fellow educators. I'm just grateful for this opportunity. I'd like to thank Tucson International Academy and for all the educators who believe that revolutionizing education is the best way, and never stop. Let's never stop, making difference to our students until the shift happens. I'm sharing this recognition to my home country, the Philippines, my fellow educators, and my students. Thank you.
This next award is for Robert Ramirez for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Dr. Robert Ramirez is a senior business professor, author, speaker, and financial education advocate at DeVry University. He has more than 2 decades of experience in higher education and real-world business leadership. Dr. Ramirez is the author of Achieving Financial Freedom and Retirement Reimagined, both available on Amazon.
A huge thank you to the Educational 2.0 conference who invited me and have all these great things going on today, and the healthcare right across the way. These are 2 of the most important things we have. And what's important to me is motivating our kids, teaching our kids, showing them that they have opportunities and they have a future. And I just love educating our youth, and I want everybody to continue that because they're our biggest asset.
This next award is for Robert Vetter for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Robert Vetter, MA, CEO, and founder of Robert Vetter Enterprises, LLC, is a cultural anthropologist and educator whose work examines the intersections of indigenous knowledge systems, learning, and well-being. He holds a master's degree in cultural anthropology from the University of Oklahoma, where his research focused on ritual, worldview, and meaning, making in indigenous cultures. Bob has designed and implemented educational programs and curriculum for elementary schools supporting cultural responsive teaching and whole student development. Oh.
I want to thank Education 2.0 for honoring the work that I do. And I want to really give thanks to the literally tens of thousands of children, elementary school children that I've worked with over the course of over 25 years, of bringing programs that celebrate cultural arts and specifically the importance of cultures in addition to our own. And I want to thank my wife, Maddie, who's not here with me today, but who has been working side by side over all of those years. So thank you.
This next award is for Rosanna Paramio for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Rosanna Paramio is the high school English language arts and social studies teacher and junior leader at Tucson International Academy. In 2022, she joined Tucson International Academy as the international educator and cultural ambassador. Guided by Proverbs 16:3, Ross teaches with a compassion and believes learning inspires, leadership aspires, and future transpires.
Good morning, educators and also the founders. We would like to thank Education 2.0 and also the Tucson International Academy. Later, we would love to connect with you because we will be speaking about our international journey as from the Philippines. We are from the Philippines, so we are excited to share our journey with you. And one message I'm going to leave is let's keep on building the future of the students who believe.
Charmin is the founder and director of Mission SEA La Luz. She holds a De La Luz. She can correct you. She's going to have a moment on the mic here in a moment. She holds a master's in education and has dedicated nearly a decade to teaching within U.S. schools. During this tenure, Charmin initiated the pilot program from homeschooling in Washington State, a role that continued for 13 years.
I'd like to thank this surprise gift for 2.0 conferences for this award. My first thanks goes, though, to God for allowing me to be here, to my husband, who's put up with a lot, and my family. So thank you again. And I want to encourage you. I do pioneering work. When God puts a passion in your heart, the impossible becomes a reality. So go for it.
Our next award is for Sheena Solar for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Sheena is a middle school math and science teacher at Tucson International Academy with 15 years of combined teaching experience in the Philippines and the United States. She specializes in project-based learning and interactive student-centered instruction that brings math and science concepts to life. Through teaching, she turns ideas into
But 10 years ago, it made me sit up straight. So within the email, she stated, here's some news updates. I'm doing really well, and she clearly is. But it was her senior year that she thought about dropping out. And I was her thesis professor, and I said, you're absolutely not dropping out. We're going to meet every week for coffee for 30 minutes, and we're just going to talk about you and life, and we'll figure it out. So she told me about her updates, and she said, there was one meeting in particular that you said, and she quoted me, and that really changed my life. It made me stay in school. So with that, it just made me realize no matter how long your interactions are with students, no matter how short, like this was an elevator conversation, it made me realize you can really, really change someone's life. So with that, please enjoy the conference, and thank you.
Thank you. Our next award is for Valerie Onshures Guana for Education 2.0 Conference Excellence in Education Award. Valerie is the Director of Outreach and Engagement at New Mexico Junior College. Nearly 5 years later, she has grown into a flagship outreach initiative for NMJC. The program now serves multiple K through 12 age groups, extending well beyond its original high school focus.
Well, like everyone else, thank you to Education 2.0. This is quite an honor. I'd like to thank New Mexico Junior College for giving me the opportunity, partnering with Chevron, the oil company. They really believed in the college and the mission of promoting success through learning. And here we are 5 years later. We've gone from juniors and seniors to now almost K through 12 and preparing more students for college. So I'm just very honored to be amongst folks like you. So thank you.
A huge congratulations to all of our honorees. Your passion, dedication, and innovative work are truly shaping new possibilities in education. It's now time to recharge. Please enjoy this meal and take this break to relax before the next round of sessions. And don't forget to visit the exhibit booths in the hall to discover new exciting innovations in education and connect with the teams behind them. And here's something to look forward to. It's the new Education 2.0 conference that will be held in Singapore and Dubai this December. If you're interested in being a part of these upcoming editions, please connect with Jatine from the 2.0 conference team, and he'd be happy to share the details with you. And we will be right back in this room at 1:30 to continue with the rest of our sessions. Enjoy your lunch.